All right, Ed Garston here with Ed Begley Jr. We're off the floor of the Battery Show and Electric and Hybrid Vehicle Technology Expo in Novi, Michigan, which is really just outside the Motor City, outside Detroit.
Yeah.
Glad you could come. Enjoyed your rollicking keynote speech earlier today.
Thanks for being there, Ed.
You bet. You offered a lot of hope, especially after being on the floor, seeing hundreds and hundreds of companies related to battery technology. Why did that give you so much hope?
I'm so excited there's so many cars with plugs now, either pure electrics like I drive and been driving for years, or plug-in hybrids. That eliminates the range anxiety for people like my wife.
Yeah.
She don't want to drive a pure electric. I got her in a Chevy Volt, so 58 miles range. She's 362 days a year on electric. A few days a year she's got to put some gasoline in, so it's a pretty good deal. The technology is exciting. And here's what I would certainly concede to. There's lots of jobs, good paying jobs in oil rigs and refineries and in coal mines. Those are jobs that pay well.
Sure.
There's certainly jobs making electric cars and solar panels and wind turbines too. All those are good for the economy the way the other jobs are, and they're good for us in many other ways. So I love that we're moving more towards that. You must never leave the workers out in the cold. You have to always have retraining and what have you as people move away from so many jobs in coal. There's less of that nowadays. You want to retrain them to do other things if they want to, and I hope they do. You don't force anybody to do anything, to learn new jobs and those things like making good insulation, even weatherizing homes, making more energy efficient, home energy audits, lots of stuff. It's not just electric cars and wind turbines. There's lots of ways we can make ourselves as a nation more energy efficient.
Sure. But, we see the industry casting its lot with electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, spending billions of dollars in research and development and creating partnerships with a lot of these companies that you might have seen out on the floor. And yet, we see some surveys out there in the marketplace that shows that perhaps Americans in particular aren't feeling it, that they're not ready to make that leap despite whatever environmental advantages there are. How do you break through that barrier?
Not everybody's on board yet, but over time I think more people are going to wake up to it, not just to do the right thing environmentally, which is why I started doing it in 1970, bought my first electric car in 1970, but I quickly learned it was good for my pocketbook. It was cheaper to plug it into the wall and pay for 1970 electricity. That was cheaper than 1970 gasoline. Same way it is today, Ed. It's still the same equation today, and it was much cheaper to service a vehicle. There was no tune-up or oil change or fan belt or radiator flush or valve job or smog check. All those things I didn't have to do anymore with the vehicle, so I liked it. Long-term prosperity, and that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the long term, and more people will see that, will see the advantage to it, and I hope they do, because it's a good way to go.
Do you ever say to yourself, though, it's a great idea, you certainly believe in it, a lot of people believe in it, the industry is believing in it, that if it just, for lack of a better term, in the long run bombs in the marketplace, that the industry has made an awful investment and could cause it harm?
I hope that's not the case. I want to see people in Detroit and Flint and Lansing thrive. I want to see the workers and everybody, middle management people, everybody do well. I want to see the companies do well, and I think they can. I think they're making the right choice. Time will tell. But I think when you just look at the economics of it, 250, some years been 300 billion a year we spend on imported oil. Let's keep that money here and make our homes and our offices more energy efficient. Then take that money we save from that. We will save money right away, making our homes and offices more energy efficient, doing a home energy audit and doing the things we can afford. Take that money, invest it in more electric vehicles, more wind turbines, more solar panels. I think we could really do well as a country. I think it's good for our long-term economic well-being.
Are you sold on the future of autonomous vehicles?
Not quite yet. I think it holds great promise, but you hear about some of the mishaps, and so I like having my hands in the wheel still. Maybe I'm old school. We'll see. We'll see how they do and how I do.
Sure. You mentioned in your speech Tesla. Everybody mentions Tesla, electric cars, Tesla. But given the the issues that it's had, some problems with its self-driving, production problems, financial issues, and frankly, its price point is out of people's range and point. Is that really the best company to sort of be the halo company about electric vehicles, or should we be focusing elsewhere?
They're filling a slot now, but I think I hope they do well. I hope Elon does very well, but if he doesn't, others will slip into that position and be the one that sells a lot of cars with plugs. I think that's the future, you know. I think one of the great things about electric cars, I happen to know for a fact that you cannot make gasoline on the roof of your house. I know this for an absolute fact, but you can make electricity on the roof of your house. So it's a good way to go in many ways, not just environmentally, but for economic well-being.
Sure. We'll take it off the show floor here for a minute, but in the last few weeks, Ford and several other automakers worked their own deal with California, something that's not making the president very happy regarding emissions and fuel economy. How do you feel about that in particular and the whole concept of individual states having their own standards?
We sought and got the right to do that years ago because of our unique position with horrible smog for years. Smog I grew up in and around and suffered from. But it's much better now. Everything that we did worked. We wanted to clean up the smog. We hoped we could do it with catalytic converters on cars, combined cycle gas turbines, spray paint booths, all that stuff that we thought would clean up the air in LA. It all worked. We have 4 times the cars from 1970, millions more people, but a fraction of the smog. That's a big success story. So we need to replicate that kind of thing. And what the automakers want now, let me back up. What they don't want is uncertainty.
Sure.
You know, they want to know what's what. Just make up your minds, for God's sake, they're saying to Trump and to us in California and everybody. They want to know what's certain. And so I think it's a certainty that we need to have more electric vehicles. They can be plug-in hybrids or pure electrics and what have you, but I think we can make cars more efficient. I think Detroit knows how to do it. They're doing it very well now. And you know, listen to people that have made a deal already. I think it was a smart thing to do.
But would it make more sense financially and just philosophically to have one national standard?
As long as it's a very high standard, I think you want to take care of everybody. You know, there's lots of people in Houston and Bakersfield and LA that are suffering from air pollution still, and so we want to clean up the air. There's a healthcare cost. There's a cost of doing nothing with imported oil and going to foreign lands to defend the oil, the healthcare costs with emphysema and asthma and all that. People still near these, you know, shipping facilities and what have you, they're still breathing dirty air in LA. We need to clean up the air, and I think we can do it. I think it should be a national standard, but just a high one.
One last thing, Green New Deal, do you look at it as sensible? Some people think that it's overreaching, that it's not necessary. What's your opinion?
Well, it's not a law at this point. There are goals, and I think they're all worthy goals. It's like nobody's saying you can't ever fly in a plane. Nobody's saying you can't, you know, eat a hamburger. These are the kind of things that people are saying about the law. No, that's not what it is. They are goals to do. If you're able to eat less meat, then that's not a bad thing. You know, if you're able to, you know, avoid flying, which I've been pretty good at for years. I don't fly unless I absolutely have to. That's a good thing. I think it's very sensible. I think it's what we need to do because, again, the cost of doing nothing with climate change. When you see that the Pentagon is concerned about climate change, you need to take notice. They have a lot of things called naval bases, a thing called sea level, and they know that there's a problem, and they know with the unrest worldwide, we're going to have more problems, as the Pentagon knows well about, with people having to move from Bangladesh and what have you in other low-lying areas. So we need to do it. The cost of doing nothing is very high, and I think we need to do as much as we can.
And just take it full circle as you prepare to leave and go back to California after what you've seen. How much differently do you feel? How much more optimism, if any, do you feel, having seen what you've seen here on the show floor, about America and the world's adoption, a greater adoption of electric vehicles?
I'm very optimistic. This is a battery and hybrid and electric vehicle show, and there's so much promise on all 3 fronts. Battery technology has gotten amazing. To be here with the real industry leaders, the people that are making those things, implementing them, doing them in the real world is exciting, and they think we can do it, and I think we can do it.